This is Fox 25 Morning News.
Thank you very much, Shannon. With the cost of college going through the roof and no end in sight, and recent graduates swimming in debt from student loans, many parents and students are starting to wonder if college is really worth it. Michael Alexander, he's the president of Lasell College in Newton, joins us this morning to talk a little bit more about this. And taking the cost out of the discussion for a second, Michael, it's always been said, well, college isn't really for everybody. And that statement still holds true today, regardless of price, doesn't it?
Well, in our diverse, teeming, free society, nothing's for everybody, so college isn't either. But it's more important for more people than ever before. If you don't get a college education today, it's very hard to enter the economic mainstream, make it a kind of living that allow you to pay the rent, buy a house, raise a family, and give your own kids an educational opportunity.
A lot of kids who graduate today would say, well, that's already the case. I mean, it's not the case for me because I'm graduating. I paid for college, and I can't find that job, so I can't pay the bills, and I can't pay the student loans that I've accumulated by going to college. So, I mean, is what you're saying still accurate now, given the economic climate and the unemployment rate and things of that nature?
Yes, it is. The unemployment rate is more than twice as high for people who don't go to college than for people who do. So the barriers to entry are even higher. It's difficult to get a job for anybody. It is difficult for college students. I tell students, look, college was hard. Getting a job is hard. Go work at it. The facts of the matter is 9 months after they graduate, almost everybody has a job or is in graduate school. That's true at Lasell College, where last year that figure was 96%. 3 out of the last 4 years, that figure was 100% in our surveys. So they do get a job. It's not easy, but they do. But if you look at it over the long term, there is no surer investment than investment in higher education. Now that you can't count on real estate or appreciating like it used to,
right.
Every survey after every piece of research one after another shows that the return on investment over 40 years is 8 to 12% year after year. That's an annual return. You can't get that return on any other way. And that's only the economic benefits of college. There are also political benefits and personal benefits as well.
But does it bother you at all to know kids are really saddled with this type of debt? And this is the next area where people say, well, this could be the next housing bubble type to burst, that the student loans that are out there, kids just can't repay them. And before they even get these jobs, even if they do find a job, it's going to take them years and years and years to try to repay these loans because college is so expensive.
It bothers me that people make generalizations like that when the facts of the matter is that most people are able to pay their loans back. The default rates for people who graduate from college are really low. The places where you run into problems disproportionately are people who don't finish and run up debts, or people who go to for-profit colleges where disproportionately the default rates are high. In a place like Lasell, our default rates are only 3%, something like that.
What's your tuition?
And even they pay eventually. Tuition, room, and board at Lasell College this year is $41,300, but that's the published tuition. The average person gets financial aid from the institution, from Lasell, of $14,000 to $15,000. So they pay somewhere in the mid-20s what they have to come up with, and to that they can apply their Pell Grants, their state grants, and their student loans. That's lower than what it costs an in-state student to go to the University of New Hampshire. So when you talk about the cost of higher education, it's a little more complicated than people usually talk about.
Northeast University had a study that came out, and it suggested that 4 out of 10 Americans feel that college is a good investment. That's only 40% who would say it's a good investment. But there's some parts of that study that you take issue with.
Actually, what the survey indicated was that 4 out of 10 found it to be an excellent or good investment. 4 out of 10 found it to be a fair investment, and only 2% felt that it was more expensive than what it was worth. If you look at the very next question in the survey, of those who graduated for college, how many felt it was a good or excellent investment? 83% said it was worth it.
So do you think college is too expensive now? Does something need to be done to contain costs and bring them down?
As I said, everything shows that it's worth it. That even if you borrowed the full cost of a college education, for most people, that would be worth it over a 40-year span. Your life won't be the same if you don't go to college than if you do. So I do think it's worth it. Is cost still a concern in college, and do we have to do something to contain costs going forward? Absolutely.
People listen and say, well, you're the president of Lasell. What's he going to say? Of course, we expect him to say this. Do you understand, though, where people are concerned and they're worried about, listen, I'd love to send my kid to a good school, but I just can't afford it. And this is a big issue for a kid who maybe does want to go and is qualified to go, but can't because the costs are too expensive.
Yes, I'm a parent myself, and I'm sympathetic. I've been through that experience, and so I know how they're feeling. Why? Because everybody feels it's so important for their child to go to college. It's a big thing. I have the honor of handing out hundreds of diplomas every year, and I can't tell you how happy those parents are, how excited they are, how, you know, so many of them will come up and say it's one of the most important, the greatest days of their lives, the parent's life, not just the child's. So people want, you know, in that survey you talked about, 94% said that their own child was extremely or highly likely to go to college. So it's a big thing for people, for their children to go to college. And so coming up with the money is an issue. It's hard. It is expensive. And there are lots of reasons for that, not the least of which is that real income in this country has been going down for the last 15 years, meaning income after adjustment for inflation. So even if college wasn't going up, it would be harder to pay for. So it is a real problem. We do have to come up with answers for that.
Michael Alexander, he's the president of Lasell College in Newton. We appreciate you coming in and joining the discussion this morning.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, nice chatting with you. All right, I want to remind you, coming up later this hour, an alternative route to the traditional higher education, the camp that many say is actually working for them. Let's get it to a break. We'll be back on the Fox 25 Morning News in just a moment.